Hi, everyone. Welcome to Faith Over Fear, the podcast where we talk about moments where our faith is bigger than our fear. I'm your host, Faith Schetzner, and today I'm, for the first time ever, sharing my full story of faith over fear. Um, One of the largest moments in my life where I had to have the faith to walk away from an abusive relationship. I'm speaking now um, due to what's going on with this Cassie and Diddy case. It's very triggering, and one of the reasons very triggering is the comments and the way collective parts of the collective is receiving. And it's important for me to communicate my truth, give my experience, so I can maybe even answer some questions. Like, why doesn't a woman who's in an abusive relationship leave, right? um or why is someone there? Why, like, oh, it's her fault? Or how does someone go and testify at these things? So I'm here to help kind of clarify that, shed light, and create space for us to hold space for one another, and to inspire other women by sharing my story too. When I first heard about this Cassie case coming up, I actually made a post about um, domestic violence, because it is so important to speak on. And as a domestic violence um, victim and victor, I say I'm a victor because I walked away. I stood trial, looked at my abuser, and spoke my truth. And I'm grown into the woman I am today. So I'm a victor. Um, yeah, so this is my story as a survivor and victor. I stayed quiet publicly for a while. One of the reasons was because legally I wanted to be mindful, and then also because I was ashamed. And so, yes, I'm telling you a story about faith over fear, but this is part of that too. Being vulnerable and sharing my truth of one of the lowest points, one of the most traumatic points of my life. Um, so Yeah, so here we go. When it comes to pressing charges after being in an abusive relationship, it can be very scary. Um, not only do you have to make sure that you have evidence, you're then going to have to face your abuser in court potentially if it goes to trial. In my situation, I stood trial, and kind of similar to Cassie, it wasn't for my actual case. I had only documented really, when I say I had documented post abuse situation, but I had only truly documented like in the moment. Um, Only really one good video that was able to be used because it was such a clear shot and you could tell exactly what's going on. Um, and I will tell you what it is. I was 9 months pregnant with my oldest daughter, and her father pulled me across the room by my hair. I pulled my phone out to record because I was scared. He had been physically abusive to me before, to the point where, look at my lip. Um, he busted my lip open really bad. Um, Verbally abusive, physically abusive the entire time. Verbally, all of it. Um, and even sexually abusive too. Yeah. So like one thing, yeah. He had abused me the entire relationship. That's why I knew I needed to record, because I was very scared. And being 9 months pregnant, I was afraid for my baby. I pull my phone out to record, and he gets angrier. And oftentimes, when abusers are in that state, or in my particular abuser, like, you can't, there's no going back. Like, once he was mad, he ran and grabbed a like cleaver knife, like this big, right? And chased me with it. And in that moment, I knew this man would kill me. He had told me in the past that he would kill me. He was a self-proclaimed shaman, healer, quote unquote, very well known in the community. Everyone loved him, charismatic. People thought he was this great healer. Like, a lot of people like almost worshipped him. And this will come back into play when I talk more about the trial, because there were people on the stand defending him even after he's convicted, even after they see the evidence. And that's what I want to speak to, because, yeah. So sorry, getting back to it. So he chased me with the knife. I had the video, And I ran out the apartment after that, and I actually have footage of me running out the apartment on the elevator, him chasing me to the elevator, but he couldn't leave because he was on house arrest, thankfully, and I was able to leave and go home. And thankfully, I had that video. That night, I made a police report. It actually was the night of Astroworld, so I had to wait till like the next day because all the police were dealing with that whole Astroworld trauma. Yeah, so that had happened. I gave a statement, but I didn't tell them I was going to press charges right away, because part of being in an abusive relationship, you're scared what they're going to do, how they're going to retaliate, especially someone like him who threatened me before. Um, you know, he had threatened that if I ran away, he would do like thing magic or rituals or have people take care of me, make me get into car accidents. And when I did leave, he did do a whole smear campaign, right? For his little following that he had, his community, he sent a text saying that I was suicidal and that the reason he was chasing me with a knife is because this is after it kind of came out, that there was a rope and I was trying to hang myself, 9 months pregnant, saying that's why he was chasing me with a knife, because I was going to hang myself, and that I blackmailed him, and all these terrible things about me. So that's another part of when victims try to leave. There's a whole smear campaign, right? Victims often are very quiet, but the abusers. So when we think of like Hallie and DDG, who's the loudest one? Who's the quiet one? That's always kind of a good telltale sign of the truth versus not. Who has court? And in court, to get a protective order, I just want to say, like, I thankfully was able to get a protective order because I had that video, and I was able to get a protective order not on me, just me, but my daughter as well. And for those to be granted, you have to write every incident of abuse, and a judge has to sign off on it, and it's documented. So it's a very traumatic experience. Even if you're not going to stand trial, leaving is a traumatic experience. When I went to go seek help, it was a traumatic experience. So if someone's not leaving, this could be why, right? When I went to different centers to seek help, you have to go into detail about the abuse, date, time, incident. And when there's multiple incidents over and over again, it's almost like you have to keep reliving it. And another reason why women don't leave right away is this is psychological, right? It's a love bomb cycle, right? First, when you meet these normally abusers are very charismatic, right? Best men ever, great, or women, I'm not going to discriminate. The man who abused me, like I said, had a following. People would come and thought he was the greatest, and they would listen and go to him for advice. Like, people would come to this man for business ideas, for personal, spiritual. They would like literally come to him like a guru, and he would lead spiritual ceremonies with people, and he would tell them, oh, this is what's wrong with you, this is what's not. Like, people would pay consultations, they'd pay hundreds, they'd pay thousands to this man, and this is what he was doing behind closed doors. And when I say behind closed doors, he would be having these vegan potlucks, and people would be there, and he would take me in the other room and he would hit me, right? Because, oh, I put the napkins down wrong. Just like that. Abusive situations like that. Like, my lip got busted because someone called me to do a music video. I said no. He got mad that I've even done that in my past. Another thing abusers do, why women don't leave. Want to go back to the love bombing. I kind of want to go back to the cycle and explain it. I may clip this, I may not. You might just get the raw version of this, and I might give it to you, and I'm just being transparent. So it's a cycle of abuse. I will put a little image right here and show you. So it is like the tension, the incident, the explosion, and then love bombing afterwards. So as a woman going through that, there's all these emotions, just oxytocin in the love bombing, adrenaline, and then dopamine when, they're not like, it's almost like, oh, are they going to be okay today or are they not? So, in my situation, like after he abused me, he'd always come back so apologetic. Oh, I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. I love you. Writing me love poems, all of that. Actually, on the newest season of You, at the very last episode, Bronte says, oh, he is so romantic. This is the best thing. It's high. She's like, is this how Beck felt right before? She's like, the highest high before. And that is what happens with abuse. So it's psychological. abusive relationships, the worst part, honestly, is the mental jail that someone's in. It's like, oh, you're not held hostage, but mentally women are held hostage there. And, this is why as a community, we need to create a safe space for women to leave, holding space for someone who hasn't left. So after I got chased with that knife, I didn't leave right away. Now, did I not go near him as much? Yes. Thankfully, I had my apartment still. When I was dating him, he wanted me to get rid of my apartment, sell my car, sell all my belongings. He made me quit my job. He wanted me to, and when I say made me, if you're in a relationship with someone and you think you're going to get married to them and you're in love, they'll tell you, if you love me, you'll do this. If you don't love me, you do that. If you're a good woman, this is that. Heck, even the abuse he said was spousal discipline. And he would say this to the people who were his followers, right? Mind you, his followers would believe this too. So that all being said, this is why women don't leave. There's so much more. And then also, when I met this man, he got really close to me. He found out everything he could know to me. Very charismatic, like very caring. This is why abusers use this information against the people that they are abusing, right? They take what you tell them and hold it against you. So the mental jail they start to create is, if you didn't do this, I wouldn't do this. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. Actually, what's so crazy? It sometimes takes a long time to see the truth. There was another woman who was groomed by this man from the age of 19, similarly to Cassie. She was around my abuser as well. And she had tried to speak out before, and people in the community did not hold him accountable. They told him she spoke out, and so she didn't speak out again, right? And the way how verbally abusive he was, and that's actually how the abuse started, was he would scream at me for hours to break me down mentally. The verbal abuse was the worst part, right? And it's crazy. He would verbally abuse me about so many different things because I was mixed, right? He was African, I was mixed. He would say I'm the devil because I'm mixed with this and that. So many different things. He'd use things about my past against me. Anything he think he could use, he would. And for a long time, it took a while for him to break me because I'm like, this isn't true. I know who I am. I know who I am. And then I broke and I didn't know who I was anymore. And that's important for women who are in a place of abuse, is like, where in ourselves can we love ourselves more? Where can we see our inner children? Where can we see ourselves? And with the other woman who was in the situation, I would love to talk with her about this more but she had told me that, watching him with me made her realize how bad he was, right? Because sometimes it's hard to see how bad the abuser is when you're in the abuse. When you're in that mental jail, when you're isolated from your friends, you're not going to work, you're like, oh, it's me, there's something I did wrong, right? You can't see it. And what's so crazy? There was a time when, like at one of the events when I got hit while people were there, I came back out and my godmom saw me and looked at me and said, if you need help, let me know, right? I knew that moment I could trust her, but I still didn't say anything because I was scared, right? They threaten you if you leave. They threaten to smear your name. They threaten to kill you, and then also, again, the mental jail. So that all being said, now let's talk about kind of courtroom trauma. I wanted to answer that question first about why women don't leave, but yeah, now we're going to go into courtroom trauma. Going to court and having to relive your abuse while sitting on a stand and getting interrogated like you did something wrong is one of the single most traumatic things ever. Ooh, this is a moment of faith over fear in itself a little bit. Ooh. I actually haven't really talked about this much. I don't like to think about it much. When I stood trial, what came to the trial, my abuser was already convicted of a different crime that had happened years before me. He had raped a 19-year-old girl. He was doing his spiritual ceremony and said she had sexual demons and he needed to exorcise her. And so he raped a 19-year-old girl. And I did not know the details. I didn't know exactly what happened until way, 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 way down the line. And I didn't know, honestly, the details till I went in the courtroom. And it was disgusting because he did the same thing to me. um, like when I think of like our first interaction, um, it was a spiritual ceremony and things happened so quick I wouldn't have been able to say no. And you don't think about that when you're in with an abusive person. You got close to them. Oh, I feel like I should maybe just do this with this person because I'm close with them. Clearly they're a good person. Maybe this is why this is happening. Um, but yeah, so as I stood trial, I had to watch the video over and over and over again. They play it each second. They pause and they talk about the video. And not only that, when they cross counter, like what they say to you, it's insane. Like the lawyer of my abuser was almost making fun of me, saying, "Oh, she's a social media manager. She could have documented this." Like, "Oh, look at her." Da, da, da. Like he was laughing almost. So someone will laugh at your abuse. So going online and talking bad and making jokes about Cassie, actually, after she's standing trial and reliving and rewatching all these, is disgusting. That's all. That's what I'm going to say. It's absolutely disgusting because I can only imagine after going and being ridiculed by their lawyer, after having to watch it over and over again and talk about it and talk about it and talk about it, going online and then seeing people be like, "Oh, it's her fault. She wants the fame. Oh, why didn't she leave? Oh, she enjoyed it." A lot of a sexual abuse, when you're with an abuser, you don't even know it's sexual abuse. One of my therapists told me, I didn't realize that there's been times that I was raped by my abuser because we were quote unquote in a relationship. But if you were hit by an abuser, you're in a freeze mode. You cannot make a real decision. When my lip got busted, I couldn't talk. I was just sobbing. It was so bad. Blood was everywhere. And I remember I was like, I just want to go home and I want to go home. And I remember I went home and when we got there, he instantly like got on top of me and I didn't want to do it, but I just got hit. So how am I going to say no? How are you going to say no to someone who's physically hurting you? Right. And actually I left him after my lip, but then I found out I was pregnant. So things will happen and kind of keep you there. And that's even with when he chased me with a knife. I made that police report, but I didn't press charges right away because I was pregnant and I was worried. And again, he told me if I wanted to be his woman. So when I say he made me, I'm just being mindful because people are going to say, "Oh, they made you." He told me if I was really his woman, I had to quit my job. I had to work for his company. I couldn't be around this person. I couldn't do that. Like I remember one time I texted a friend just like good morning who I hadn't talked to in a while, a really good friend, like one of my best friends. I've known him longest in Houston. He saw that text message to that person and that man beat my ass so hard. It's so crazy. Like and I still stayed, right? And I knew I shouldn't have left. Like I had men in my life, I have women in my life, I have friends. I was doing so good when this happened to me, right? Like I just, whew, you know. And so I honestly didn't press charges because A, I didn't want to go to trial. B, I'm scared how he's going to retaliate because he was already on an ankle monitor. And, C, I had a baby with this man. I don't know how this is going to affect me, right? Now, fast forward to the moment when I went to the police station and fully pressed charges. My baby was almost a month old, and he was holding her and being aggressive with her, and I told him to stop. He came and attacked me, hurt my wrist, twisted it backwards, and refused. In that moment, I knew I had to leave. It was kind of similar to the other woman. When I saw what was happening with my child and the danger she was in, I knew I could no longer ever go back. I saw myself too. I said, if I don't want this happening to her, I can't let my daughter see this happen to me because then she will think it's okay. Because if I'm okay with it, I'm an example to my daughter and I never want her to be in this position. So from that moment, I left, got a protective order, and I never spoke to that man again. Last time I had ever seen him was in court. And of course, after I left, after I officially went straight to the police station and pressed those charges. And actually, I want to shout out that detective because he reached out to my friend to make sure I was okay because he was so worried. Because, a lot of time domestic violence victims, um, they make reports, but they don't fully press charges because they're scared. Because when they leave, where are they going to go? Who are they going to run to? Who's going to believe them? And again, the smear campaign and accountability, all of that. And so, yeah, yeah, once those were charged, I got a protective order, a permanent protective order for me and my daughter. And when I had to go on stand on trial, going back to that and the trauma of that, their closing statement, um, ooh, ooh, in the video, what most abusers say, he said, "Look what you made me do. Look what you made me do." Right? As he's chasing me with a knife. The prosecutor used that as the closing line for his sentencing after he was already convicted of rape. They said, "Look, this man can't take accountability." So she played the video where he said, "Look what you made me do," and he chased me with a knife. And she repeated it, "Look what you made me do." And then she did it a third time and pointed to me as I'm sobbing in the in the courtroom. She points to me and says, "Look at what you made me do." Right? So, the trauma, right? Because when you're a witness, you're a part of that. And yes, the prosecutor's helping you, but also they need your trauma. They need the jury to see how affected you are. So, yeah, it's not fun. So going online and making fun of a woman after she's been through that, it's not cool. It's not okay. And we as a community are better than that. Yeah. I've never come online and told my story on now, just because it is so traumatic. And understanding how to tell it in a way empowered, because yes, I'm a victim, but I'm also a victor, right? I had the faith or the fear to leave. I ended up transforming my life afterwards. I understood how I needed to have a radical self-love, and I'm still working on that. And actually, even telling the story is part of the healing, because I never really talked about going to court and how traumatic that was. So yeah, that's definitely part of my call to action to you guys, is that give Cassie grace, right? The grace that you're extending to the abuser, that there's physical evidence, give that grace to the woman. Give Hallie grace. These women are quiet. They don't want to speak about what's going on. Let them heal in peace. If this was your daughter, if this was you, if this was your mother, if this was your friend, how would you want them to be listened to? Right? In this world, we need to be kinder. We need to speak kindness. We need to speak love. We need to hold space for each other. It's bigger than just you and me and this person and that person. It's us. And the way we treat one person says so much what we treat about another. That's why I'm sharing my story, because I'm going to stand with Cassie. I'm going to stand with Hallie. I'm going to stand with Megan. I'm going to stand with Faith. I'm going to stand with any woman and every woman, not just the women who walk away, but the women who are in abuse and need help to walk away, because you can and you will do it. And it's okay if you go back and you need to leave and you sometimes aren't there yet. It's okay, because you will get there. I think that's something we need to offer more grace to women, because listen, it's a mental jail. It's not just a physical. And it stems with things deep inside us. A lot of it is external. Abusers definitely take advantage. They find people they can prey on. They groom, they manipulate, all of that. But there's also something inside of us, maybe I have a daddy wound, right? Or a mommy wound. I have my own things going on. I've had a crazy ass life story. I don't know if y'all can get the full thing or when, but I've been through some crazy ass shit. We're gonna be real. So I've been through some crazy ass things. And so I was vulnerable and susceptible to that. So that's my story. That's my truth. And that's the time I had faith over fear, taking that leap and fully leaving, even when this man sent out a whole letter saying I was suicidal and that he was trying to cut the rope and all this and that. And it had a whole smear campaign. Who sent this text to a huge group chat of people who told people all the time that I'm this, that I'm that, made up lies about me. In the courtroom, made up lies about me. And that's, again, going back to that. Not only when you're on the stand, you have to listen to people lie about you. And you have to defend the lies and be like, that's not true, as you are watching your trauma. So as you watch this, all the information come out with the Diddy trial, please hold space. Please be kind. Please stop accusing these women. And you know what? And this is, again, why I'm speaking. Because just because you see these people being trolled online, that's not the collective. We hear you, we see you, we love you, and we're proud of you. Thank you for standing up. Thank you for telling your story. I'm so proud of Cassie. I'm so proud of every woman. There's women in my life too who I know who stood up and walked away. I'm so proud of you. We're so proud of you. You did it. And you're stronger for it. And if you haven't walked away yet, you can do it. God will prevail. God will provide. You will be covered. When I left, I had a newborn baby. I hadn't been working like that because I've been working for my abuser. The only way I was getting money was by working for him and through him. I didn't know what I was going to do, but God prevailed and God provided. So let me let you know, there's programs, there's people, there's organizations, there is a will, there's a way. And I promise you, when your faith is stronger than your fear, all will prevail. And faith isn't hope. Faith is knowing. I knew I'd be okay after this man told me everything was wrong with me, that nothing's going to happen to me, that I'm going to die, that I'm crazy. I knew who I was. I know I'm a child of God. I know I'm my divine power. I know who I am, and so are you. So that's my call to action. And even the people who are speaking down and confused and all that, tap into your own divinity. Tap into the person who can love, not criticize, not ridicule. That's what we need to seek. That's what we need to be. So yeah, welcome to Faith Over Fear. This is the first episode. Honestly, I wanted to interview someone for the first one, but I think this is the best one. But yeah, if y'all have any comments, comment below, like, share. Yeah, thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for being present and holding space. And please, let's move with kindness. Let's speak out of love. Let's speak to ourselves with kindness. Let's speak to each other with love. You know, you might be the only example of Christ and God that someone experiences that day, right? You know, they might be having the worst day, but if they can see the divine light, they can see God, they can see Christ likeness, the Christ consciousness in you, you should do it. So before you go and comment, well, why didn't she just leave? Oh, the rich and fame. What would Christ say? What would Christ do? How would God welcome Cassie in? Think about it. Not why didn't you leave? No persecution. But come unto me, right? So let us walk in that power. Let's walk in our power to love, because that is the strongest power that we have, you know, next to faith and love. Thank y'all. Have a blessed day. And